There's a place on Earth where, if something goes wrong, the entire global economy feels it within days. Not a country, not a city. A narrow strip of water just 33 kilometers wide. And every single day, nearly 20% of the world's oil passes through it. If that flow slows down, fuel prices spike within hours, supply chains begin to strain, entire economies start to shake. But here's the part almost nobody talks about. The real story of this place isn't just about oil. It's about something far stranger. This is the Strait of Hormuz. At its narrowest point, this waterway is barely wider than a short drive between two cities. Yet inside that gap, some of the largest machines ever built by humans are forced into shipping lanes just 3 kilometers wide. 30? That's all the room they get. Massive oil tankers, carrying millions of barrels, moving through a corridor tighter than most people would ever imagine. Countries like Japan rely on this route for nearly all of their oil. India depends on it for the majority of its imports. China, the world's largest energy consumer, sends a huge portion of its supply through here. There is no real backup. There are pipelines, yes, but they can only handle a fraction of the volume. If this passage shuts down even briefly, the global economy doesn't just slow down, it chokes. But while the world focuses on what moves across the surface, almost no one notices what exists around it. Because just off the coast things start to look unreal. There's an island here that doesn't look like it belongs on Earth. Hormuz Island. Its beaches aren't white or golden or even dark. They're red. Deep, intense red. The kind of color that looks wrong for a shoreline. When waves crash against the sand, the water itself turns crimson. It looks like the sea is bleeding. And the reason is even more bizarre. The soil here is packed with iron oxide so concentrated that it stains everything it touches. Doesn't the water, even your skin. And then comes the part that sounds almost impossible. People here eat it. The locals call it galak. They mix this mineral-rich soil with oil and spices, turning it into part of their traditional food. It might be the only place on Earth where you can literally taste the land beneath your feet. And yet this is only the surface. Because underneath this island, there's an entirely different world. Hidden within the ground are vast caves made almost entirely of salt. Not stone. Not. Crystal formations hang from the ceiling like frozen icicles. The walls absorb sound so completely that when you step inside, everything goes quiet. No echo. No background noise. Just your own breathing. Your own heartbeat. Some visitors say it's one of the most unsettling silences they've ever experienced. Others come here for a completely different reason. The air inside these caves is believed to help people with breathing problems. Dry, mineral-rich. A natural environment that modern science is still trying to fully understand. But just when you think this place can't get any stranger, it does. Because nearby lies an island that seems to change shape over time. Qeshm Island. From above, it looks like empty desert. Plot, Wycliffe. But then suddenly, the ground opens. Massive canyons appear out of nowhere, carved deep into the earth. Their walls twist and fold like melted wax. In some places, the gap is so narrow you can touch both sides at once. And hidden inside these formations are ancient water systems, holes carved by hand to collect rainwater. Proof that people didn't just survive here. They understood it. They adapted to it. But the most famous place on this island feels almost unreal. It's called Stars Valley. According to local legend, a star fell from the sky and struck the ground here, scattering rock in every direction. Scientists say it's erosion, wind and water shaping soft stone over millions of years. But when you stand there, watching the strange pillars and jagged formations rise around you, hearing the wind whistle through the Arabic alif, Arabic lam, Arabic se'ada, Arabic ith, Arabic wawa, Arabic ah, the legend feels more believable. And here's the twist. This place is still changing. Every storm reshapes the landscape. Meaning what you see today won't look exactly the same tomorrow. But even that isn't the strangest thing in this region. Because out in the water, there's a forest. And it shouldn't exist. At high tide, the sea rises and swallows the roots. The trees appear to float, a canopy of green suspended above a mirror-like surface. It looks like something out of a dream. Then the tide falls, and the truth is revealed. A tangled network of roots gripping the mud below. These are mangrove trees, and they can do something almost unbelievable. They drink salt water and filter out the salt. A natural desalination system built into a living organism. Scientists study this process, trying to replicate it with technology. But these trees have been doing it for millions of years. And at night, the water sometimes begins to glow. Tiny organisms light up when disturbed. Fish leave glowing trails. Boats carve lines of blue light through the darkness. Even your hands can sparkle if you touch the water. It's as if the ocean itself is alive. But the most fascinating part of this region isn't natural at all. It's human. Hidden along the edge of the strait is a village almost completely cut off from the modern world. Kumzar. No highways. No direct roads. Only boats can reach it. Around 2,000 people live here, packed tightly between mountains and sea. And they speak a language found nowhere else on earth. Kumzari. It's not purely Arabic, not Persian, not Hindi, but somehow all of them at once. A mix of languages built over centuries of passing traders and sailors. Every visitor left something behind. A word, a phrase, a sound. And over time, those fragments fused into a completely unique language. A living record of global history. But it's fragile. Because the younger generation is slowly shifting toward more common languages. What took centuries to build could disappear within decades. And their way of life is just as unique. Every summer, when the heat becomes unbearable, the entire village leaves. They migrate together to a nearby town, then return months later. A tradition repeated for generations. A system built not by fighting nature, but by adapting to it. And all of this exists right next to one of the most critical choke points on Earth. Because here's the reality. The world depends on this narrow stretch of water. There are alternative routes. Pipelines that try to bypass it. But they can only carry a small portion of what moves through here every day. Around 20 million barrels of oil pass through this strait daily. Alternatives handle less than half of that. So if this passage closes, there's no real replacement. At the same time, the world is changing. Energy is shifting. From oil to gas to renewables. Maybe even hydrogen in the future. But that transition is slow. And for now, everything still depends on this one fragile gap. So think about what this place really is. A narrow strip of water that powers cities across the planet. Surrounded by landscapes that look completely alien. Home to cultures that have existed for centuries almost unnoticed. Most people will never visit it. Many couldn't even point to it on a map. And yet, their lives depend on it every single day. The Strait of Hormuz isn't just a passage for oil. It's a collision point. Between ancient worlds and modern systems. Between nature and industry. Between what we see and what we completely overlook. And maybe the strangest part of all is how something so important can remain almost invisible. So the next time you hear about rising fuel prices or global tensions, remember this place, because everything still flows through here.